Hey, people in the crusty pipes, I'm Mr. Spork, and these are Mr. Spork's hands. I've been talking in the food forums, specifically the bread making forums a lot lately, about everyday bread, cheap everyday bread. We're not talking about sourdoughs and focaccias and baguettes, the beautiful stuff you see in bakeries. We're talking about everyday bread because a lot of people still just want to make ordinary toast and peanut butter sandwiches. This is a replacement for that. They're paying $2.50, $3 a loaf for that in the grocery stores. I can get through at least one of those a week, if not two or three. You know, we're talking, $150, $200 worth of bread a year that I can make for 35 cents a loaf. Yes, 35 cents Canadian loaf. What is it? 27 cents US. The only argument that you ever hear is that, oh, it's too much trouble, it's too involved, it takes too much time. Well, I'm going to prove that it doesn't take that much time at all. 6 minutes hands-on effort. The point of this video is just that, to prove to you that it only takes a few minutes of hands-on effort. So I'm just going to dive right in. I'm actually not going to explain too much what I'm doing simply because I made a longer video the other day, and it's hard to convince people it's only 6 minutes of effort when you put up a 20-minute video. So don't worry too much about what I'm doing here. If you need the details, which I will certainly share with you in that longer video, I'm going to put that longer video up as a link down below on my channel someplace. But like I say, it's a level of detail that you don't need to convince you to get out and try this. It's so incredibly simple. I'm doing everything by weight here because weight is the important factor when you're obviously making bread. That is instant yeast. It's Canadian all-purpose flour. Canadian flour, all-purpose flour, is a lot higher protein than all-purpose in other parts of the world, which is kind of convenient. You will probably have to use a little bit of bread flour wherever you're at, but it's going to change based on your location, your local flour supply. I'm just making sure the water is not too hot. You don't want to go over 120 there. I actually weigh my water because that's the only way to be 100% accurate. These volume measures can be tricky. That, I know from experience, is what I'm after right there. And again, another weight. I know you guys can't see that, but that is the first step to making this bread. I'm just getting everything stirred together. There you go. Now I'm going to let it autolyze, what they call the autolyze or autolyse or autolyse, whatever, however you pronounce that. I always call it autolyze, but somebody the other day told me he said it was autolyse or autolyse or something like that. Who knows? Anyway, that just means walk away for 10 minutes. There you go. That's all the hands-on for the start. I'll be back in a bit. If you guys don't have a manual, digital, or analog pencil for your bread making journal, go get one. It's the only way you're going to improve and reproduce consistent results is to remember what you did. This autolyse step has done its thing. Basically, it just lets that flour rehydrate all the way. It's going to make it easier to knead. And I'm looking at the residual flour in there. I'm going to use just a couple extra drops of flour or water in there. Literally a few flings off the end of my fingers. That is ready for the machine, which makes this almost effortless. You guys can use the clock over there to see how long each of these stages takes, but I'm going to go into about a setting 4 on my upright mixer. About 5 minutes. There we go. Machine does all the work. It's magic. People oftentimes ask me about bread machines, bread making machines. I've had a few. I've tried them and tested them. Basically, they're single-minded, weak, upright mixers with really poor ovens on them. I just don't find a real use for them. I thought at some point if they could make a decent loaf, the fact that you had a machine with a timer on it might be some kind of advantage, but quite frankly, they just don't make very good bread. I'm sure that there are better and worse models, but if you're going to spend $100, $150 on a machine to make bread with, I say get yourself an upright mixer. There are all kinds of good brands and they're relatively cheap these days. So just a little bit of oil in there. I just use vegetable oil, coat it around, and that's basically so that it won't stick to the sides of the bowl as it rises. That's it. That's all you got to do for stage one. Here we are about an hour and 20 minutes later, proofing. I hurried it along in my oven, using my oven as a proofing space. I just turn the heat on for 60 seconds, then turn it back off. You can control the rise with the temperature, and so if you don't want to make this all in one go, you could do the parts we've done to this point in the morning. When you come back from work, right as you walk in the door, you do what I'm doing here, forming it into a loaf. Then by the time you get your shoes off and a cup of tea made, it's risen and ready for the oven. Just got to remember to turn on your oven. We're going to bake at, oh geez, what is it? 400 Fahrenheit, 200 Celsius. It's going to be about a 25-minute bake, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. If you are fighting the cold kitchen like I do up in here in Canada all the time, right now it's minus 12 Celsius outside, so it's pretty chilly. Hot bowl of water, cover your bread, let it rise. See you in a little bit. And here we are, risen and ready for that preheated 400-degree Fahrenheit oven, 200 Celsius. I'll show you the results after about a 26-minute bake. And here we are. Stop the clock. However long the timer says down there in the bottom, minus the minute I took yammering an introduction, that's how many minutes it took hands-on time and effort to make this bread, as you guys can see. Just want to do a real quick check. As I said earlier, internal temperature is the only way to be sure. We're at 203, 204. That's perfect. But do remember that this bread is still baking right now. Do not cut into it while it's this hot. I'm going to leave it in the pan for about 5 minutes. Then I'll turn it out onto a rack, let it cool all the way down, or at least as far down as I can resist before I get the butter out and start slapping it on the hot, warm bread. It tastes fabulous. Please try this at home. It might take you a little longer than me because I've had a little practice at first, but after a couple dozen loaves, you will be just as quick as you could possibly imagine, probably even faster than this video because you weren't bothering to explain things. I am going to put that longer video I made up earlier, even though it's got a lot more ramblings and details. I know some of you guys that really want those kind of things will be looking for that. I'll put it down below as a link to probably an unlisted video. So go down to that link below the video and go check out the details if you need them. Just to recap, 400 grams of high-protein flour, anything above 13% seems to work, 10 grams of salt, 8 grams of yeast, 8 to 10 grams of sugar, and about 20 milliliters of oil. And the water was 280 grams, which conveniently that's 280 milliliters, but again, I weigh mine for accuracy. 280 milliliters gets you a slightly more open crumb than what you get at the grocery store in the plastic bag loaves. If you want that tight of a crumb, probably knock 10 milliliters off of that, go to 270. If you want a little bit more open crumb, go up to 290. After you play with it a little bit, you'll get it dialed in exactly what's right for your flour supply wherever you happen to live. I do appreciate you liking and thumbs up and tweety twit facing and snap book chatting and all that other weird instant social media stuff that it just befuddles me. But I trust that you guys will share this out to your friends and family that want to do some bread baking for themselves. I do appreciate you doing that because believe me, the views and the subscriptions really do help me out. Let me keep doing this for you guys. Until next time, I'm Mr. Spork. These are Mr. Spork's hands. Now I'm going to go make some toast from yesterday's bread while this cools down. Cheers.